We'll talk about that afterwards.
Okay.
Are we good to go though?
I think people will keep pouring in, but I think we've got a good amount of people. We're good to go.
Yeah, I want to respect everybody's time. So why don't we get started? So first, great to see everybody again. And like Greg said, and Rudy also had the same thought. Thank you very much for spending some of your time with me today. Hopefully the topic though, career planning, is something worth talking about. So a couple of preliminaries. We have about 60 minutes scheduled. As much as possible, I'd really appreciate it if those that have Zoomed in, unless you have some earth-shattering appointment, to hang with us through the end. We won't go more than 60 minutes. If, questions and discussion, we only go 40, then we'll wrap up early. So try and stay to the end if you can. The second thing, Judy and Greg, if you don't mind, help me monitor any questions. Like if I'm chatting and someone's raising a hand, I don't see it, just interrupt me. And also if one of you could give me it's just after 3:30, if you can give me a heads up at 4:15, just so I can kind of make certain I cover, I leave time to cover any concepts and I don't run out of time at the end. Let's see, for all you folks, today, I'm not doing a formal presentation, so no PowerPoints today. This is not meant to be a class. Hopefully that's a good thing. I also don't, I want to be real clear, I don't profess to be an expert on career or career planning, but I'm taking the point of view of being a grad student. And I was one of those, and I've taught hundreds. So I think I have a pretty good grip on that. And what I'd like to do today is maybe share a few key ideas along with a timetable. And I think that might be a nuance for you guys in order to help you guys to start thinking about your career planning for when you get out of here now. Since I don't have a formal presentation, I'm just going to be chatting about different ideas and thoughts, and I'm going to invite you guys to interrupt me whenever you want. If I'm saying something you think is worthwhile, then please take notes. I hope there are a few points that you'll want to take notes on. But other than that, let's try and keep this informal and more of a conversation. Are we good?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
cool. Then, and occasionally you're going to see me look off. I have dual screens here, so I have notes off to my left. So let's start with the question. Here's my question. And the topic is careers. Has anybody ever been online, either while you're here or before you came to us, and you see this like amazing internship or job? And so right away, you go, oh man, that sounds perfect for me. I'm going to grab my resume. I'm going to kind of dust it off, maybe tweak my resume a little bit. And then you spend an hour or two writing just the perfect cover letter where you express all the reasons why you are the absolute #1 candidate that they should consider. You send all that information in online. And then what happens? First of all, has anybody ever done that before? Cool.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but sometimes what happens for me, even though I haven't been too much in the job market lately, but oftentimes we don't get the job, right? But what's worse than not getting a job? Sometimes we don't even get a response. And I don't know about you guys, but I find that extremely demotivating or disheartening. And to do that again and again, I'm saying I don't think it's a great career strategy. Now, do I think sites like LinkedIn and Indeed and Monster and ZipRecruiter, et cetera, should they be part of your career strategy? Part of your career strategy? Absolutely yes. But should they be the whole thing? Absolutely not. If for no other reason, if you do only that, I think your odds of getting the job that you want go down, but also you may commit suicide before anybody actually gives you a job offer, right? And I say that with a smile. So what's my recommendation here? I recommend that all of you guys start meeting people in person. Now, before I continue on, I want to say, I should have said this up top. Some of the ideas I'm going to express today, I think are going to be ideas that you've had, and maybe some of you are already following these strategies. And if you are, then you can politely, if I'm not adding any value, you can politely just sign off, and I won't take it personally. But I think if you hang in there, I think some of the ideas and strategies I'm going to give you, maybe with a little more detail, I hope you'll find worthwhile. So getting back to the story. So I apply online, I don't get the job, but worse than that, I don't even get any kind of feedback. It's just a black hole. That's not, if that's 100% of our job strategy, that's not good. So what else do we need to marry with that? The first thing we need to marry with that is you and I, you specifically, you've got to meet people. So quick question for you. You can physically or electronically raise your hand. How many of you are already conducting informational interviews as we speak?
What do you mean by informational interviews?
There you go. So first of all, not too many, and one or two I think I've even spoken to about this. So if I subtract those, there may be like one. Informational interview. So we all want jobs, but we know that when a job comes open at a company, and if that's the first time we're communicating with that company after a job comes open, you all know that your odds of getting that job are pretty low, right? So what you need to do is you need to start having a conversation before that happens. I think one of the best ways to do it is during an informational interview. Let me explain. And once I explain, you'll say, oh yeah, I've done that. Informational interview. It's when I bring the conversation to the company, and it's not about a specific job opening. So let's say I'm in your cohort and I'm really interested, after I graduate, I'd really like to work in CIA, Consumer Insights and Analytics, maybe for an entertainment company, maybe like Disney or Lucasfilms or Pixar. Oh, by the way, they're all headquartered right here. So what I do is I don't look for jobs. I do a little research. We'll talk about how, and I reach out to those companies proactively. And I don't tell them I'm looking for a job, even if I am. What I say is, hey, my name's John O'Meara. I'm a grad student in the MSMI program over at USF. And when I graduate, I'm really keen on working in a marketing role in entertainment. And the person cuts in, well, Sean, we don't have any jobs right now. It's okay. I'm not looking for a job. What I would like to do is, can I come over and meet with one of the members of your marketing team? What for? Because I'm really keen on pursuing my career in marketing, and I'd love to just be able to sit and maybe ask some questions and learn from someone in your marketing team. I'm not expecting any kind of job. Okay, that seems reasonable. So informational interview, when you proactively identify and reach out to a company and you're literally asking for a meeting to learn. Everybody following what I'm saying? So a couple things. I realize some of you have done this. I would hazard a guess, not very many of you have done this with a formula. And what I want to do is I want to kind of give you a formula today. And by the way, if you know anything about me as a professor, I'm very good at handing out homework. So even though you guys aren't in a class with me right now, I'm going to start giving you some homework. Okay, so here goes. Informational interviews. What I'd like you guys to do is think about 2 industries when you get out of this joint, which is going to be in just 7 months. It's fast. Okay, so I know you just started, right? I'm sorry, that's the way grad programs are. Think of 2 industries where you'd like to work in. So let me just kind of get us going. Parth, you're listening to me, I hope.
Yeah, yes.
When you get out of here, give us one industry that you'd like to work in.
Digital marketing.
Okay, digital marketing is a function. You guys follow me?
Yes. Okay.
So wait,
Yeah.
Pause 1 second, because
Yeah.
it's the conversation. We're going to go back. So I really want you to, all of you guys, Parth is going to give me an answer in a moment. I really want you to think of industries, not functions. Okay. So Parth, what industry interests you?
A specific industry would be paid marketing. Anything which is related to ads.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
but time out a second, even that paid marketing, unless I'm misunderstanding, do you understand? I can do paid marketing for Nike. I can do paid marketing for a nonprofit. I can do paid marketing for an airline. So
Right.
pause a second. Let's all help each other. Vedika, share with us an industry that you're interested in.
I'm interested in consumer packaged goods, CPG.
There you go. Okay. And how about Rohini? Rohini, you and I haven't chatted for a million years. What's an industry that excites you?
It would be CPG or tech, both. Yeah.
Tech. Okay. And by the way, within tech, because I know half of you would tell me tech, within tech, what flavor?
Maybe digital wallets. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
So that,
yeah.
because that's real
Ooh.
specific. I was just wanting kind of more, first of all, B2B or more B2C, right? Because
Yes.
it's really different, right? You know, do I want to work for Salesforce or do I want to work for Adobe or however you want to skin it? So that's what I mean by all of you guys right now, start thinking about what industries you want to work in. Okay. You're all going to be groomed as practitioners in insights, analytics, and research. You're going to want to more than likely move into a marketing role. But I'm asking you what industries. So once you identify 2 industries, then what I'd ask all of you to do, this is the homework part. I want you to research 10 companies per industry. By the way, when you do that, you also have to start doing a little bit of thinking about what's your geography when you get out of here. So Himanshi, when you get out of here, and by the way, ideally, this is ideally what you want. Himanshi, what geography? Where do you want to be working when you graduate?
San Francisco only. I would like to stay here.
Okay, so
Bay Area, yeah.
Okay, Bay Area. Just curious, anybody besides open to Bay Area, anybody open to another geography?
I'm
yeah.
open to New York.
Yeah.
There you go. Ram, New York.
I'm open to. I'm looking at Chicago as my number
Okay.
1 destination.
This
Go
is
Chicago.
I'm open to Seattle as well.
excellent. So this is what I like to see. So now we're starting to put together a plan here. So 2 industries. Within each industry, you want to research 10 companies. They don't have to be the top 10 or the biggest. It's the ones that interest you, right? But they either need to be headquartered or have a major presence in the markets you want to work in. So back to my example, I'm interested in working in a marketing role in entertainment. I'm probably looking, let's say in Northern California and SoCal. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to identify 10 companies. I don't care if they're split 5-5, it doesn't matter to me. But I'm going to I already identified 3 up here, Pixar, Lucas, and Disney. Literally, they're all right around campus. And then Southern California is a much bigger market. So now there I'm going to go look at, MGM and all the other big companies. People following me? And you do the same, Seattle, Chicago, et cetera. Okay, so now we've got our companies, we have them by geography. Now what we need to do is we need to reach out to those 10 companies, right? We're going to do an informational interview. So now we need to identify bodies in those companies. This is the part where this can be a much longer conversation. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick thoughts. For any of us that are open to working in the greater Bay Area, maybe even California, especially the greater Bay Area, there's a pretty good chance, probably like a 50-50 chance. Any company you name, unless it's small, a little startup, there's a really good chance there's a Don working there, right? We've been around for over 150 years. We graduate, whatever it is, 10,000 students, undergrad and grad every year. There's probably a Don working there. So go on LinkedIn, you know how to look at companies and you can look under, are there Dons working there? And then that's how it starts. I'm calling up Mary. Mary, my name's John. Introduce yourself. I'm a grad student in the MSMI program. I'm really keen on a future career in marketing analytics. I'd love to work in the entertainment industry. And Mary, I see that you work at Pixar. Yeah, but John, I don't work in HR. Perfect, Mary, because I'm not working for a job. You're not? What do you want? Mary, I'd like to come over. Do you work in the marketing team? I do. I'd like to come over and actually just pick your brain or somebody in your team. I'd like to pick your brain on anybody in your marketing team, especially anybody that might work in the area of like insights or research or analytics. Would that be possible? Well, sure, as long as you understand I don't have a job right now. Yeah, okay, cool. And then you set up that meeting. Now, here's the important thing. When you set up an informational interview, that meeting is yours, right? This is not a job interview. So when you go over there, Mary's going to be sitting there going like, John's coming over. I'm not really certain what he wants, but he said he just wants to meet with me and ask questions. So that means you have to research your company. You have to come armed with questions. You're going to lead the conversation. But when you meet with Mary, let's say you're sitting, sometimes I kind of consider it like a job shadow. Let me pause for a second and address COVID. And let me push double pause button. Are people somewhat interested in what I'm discussing? Am I on an okay track? Okay, cool.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Professor.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
they're here to discuss
So, okay, now, whenever you're going to meet with someone, informational interview, pre-COVID, you always want to meet at their office. Hey, John, do you want to go out for, because sometimes they'll be really nice. Hey, let's meet for lunch. And if they kind of insist or offer, and you don't want to, like, you're the person asking for the favor, you might say, hey, I'd be happy to meet for lunch. Actually, lunch is on me, but can I swing by your office to pick you up? You want to either meet them in their office, forget about lunch, because when you're eating lunch, you can't talk with food in your mouth. You don't really get to eat your food. So it's just sitting there, they're eating, it's the whole thing. Who's going to pick up the tab? Where's the waiter? It's like, meet them at their place of work. By the way, the other reason you want to do that is whenever I do this, and by the way, I still do informational interviews today. And I'll tell you why later, there's a reason. When you meet them, you say, hey, Mary, Mary's walking me back to her cubicle or to her office. I say, before or after we meet, would it be possible for you to take me a quick walk around the office? And why am I doing that? Because I'm trying to like soak up the culture, right? Does this look like a happy place? Is everybody just like nailed down behind a screen, just kind of locked in and no one's up and talking? Do I like the vibe of the place? So if you can, you want to meet in the person's place of business without a doubt. Now, because it's COVID, sometimes when you set up an informational interview, it may be online, obviously, right? However, we'll talk about timing later on. You can see in the Bay Area, especially, we're coming out of COVID pretty quickly. I think there's going to be greater opportunity for you to set up your informational interview in the place of business. So try for that first. If it ends up being online, that's okay, right? So you meet the person, you drive the conversation. I kind of think of it, there are different approaches. If you have questions, we can talk about later on. I kind of think of it like job shadow. So if you're going to meet somebody, let's say at an entertainment, let's say at Pixar, do I want to meet the top dog, someone in the middle, or a junior bee?
Middle.
Yeah, I think you guys are getting masters. I think that's fair. And a lot of you have work experience. I think mid to junior, depending on your work experience, is very relevant. The reason I say it's not like you don't want to meet the CMO, but honestly, if you're not talking about a specific job opening, what are you and the CMO going to talk about? And the worst thing you want to do is get in front of a senior person and waste their time. Remember, it's your meeting. Okay. So I think what you should do is research. I'll talk about how in a moment. You should be researching people who are at or slightly above the role that you want in that organization. So they're either your job or the person that's going to hire you ideally. And what you want to do in general is you kind of want to do a job show. Hey, Mary, when I'm coming over, you told me you work in insights and analytics team. I do, John. Mary, nothing. Can I just sit next to you? Maybe kind of watch you work and pepper you with questions? Sure, that's fine. If you don't mind, I'm going to kind of handle some work right now. So you're having a conversation back and forth. By the way, when you're asking Mary questions, you're also, this is really important, you're inserting key information about yourself. So at the end of 30 or 60 minutes, that person has to know you, not like as your best friend, but they have to know who you are, right? So at the end of 30 or 60 minutes, you say something like, hey, Mary, I really appreciate your taking time, 45 minutes of sitting down, answering my questions and showing me some of the stuff and even showing me around the Pixar studios. That was really cool. Now that you know a little bit more about me, is there someone else within Pixar you think it would be smart for me to meet, or someone else within the industry? Well, John, I can't think of someone at Pixar, but I've got a really good friend over at Disney in the marketing team if you'd like to meet someone over at Disney. I'd love to meet somebody at Disney. Would you give me an electronic introduction? Sure, no problem. So now you've got two connections. Now, the first thing is obviously after you split, you write a fantastic thank you note to Mary. But now Mary introduces you to Bob over to Disney. You repeat the same process with Bob. When you finish with Bob, you do not let that conversation end. Hey, Bob, thanks for showing me around Disney. This was really cool. And now that you learned a little bit more about me, is there someone else within Disney I should meet? Well, you know, you've got a lot of language skills, John. You should probably meet with someone in the international team. Could you give me an electronic introduction? Sure, no problem. Now you've got 3 people. You're thanking all of them. When you finish with Bob, you write a note back to Mary. Hey, Mary, remember you sent me over to Bob over at Disney? It was actually a really cool conversation and he showed me exactly what I wanted. As a matter of fact, I realized I think I might have a lot of skill in the international marketing team. He's going to set that up. Mary, would it be okay if I stay in touch with you? Sure, it's no skin off my nose. Absolutely. Let me pause for a second. Thoughts and questions?
Professor, in fact, like, go ahead.
Anybody, go ahead.
Yes. What if the people whom you connect with on LinkedIn, ex-alumni, etc., do not reply to you? Is there a particular way to write to them? Maybe they see your message or they don't see your message. In the past, when I've just tried to do this for networking, not for the USF alumni, back when I was working, I have had instances where people have not replied to me. So you just feel like you're hanging around there without any answers. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, you notice I said, once you identify the companies, you got to do some work to try and identify an individual in the company to write to. Now, you may have some connection with that person or not. It isn't like they have to be a friend or something like that. Even just having, for instance, they're just a graduate of your same university, or do a little research on them on LinkedIn, see if there's any kind of connection. But to answer your question, Plak, yeah, there's a good chance if you're really writing to John Smith and you don't know John Smith and there's no connection, John Smith may not reply, okay? However, because it's not for a specific job, you can then just try and enter the same company through another individual, right? But I would put a big emphasis on it's much better when you can identify an individual to write to, and don't write to anybody in HR, right? HR people are there to fill job roles. You're not looking for an open job. Even if you are, you're not, okay? You wanna, more than likely, you wanna connect with the person that is working in the department or similar department or role that you would like to take on. That would be like the sweet spot. Plek, back to your question though, or your thought. Obviously I worked in industry virtually my whole life. I used to take informational interviews all the time, even as a head of an agency. How come? Because we're always looking for talent. And when a position does open, as a hiring manager, I don't want to go to Indeed or Monster and write up a job spec, put it out there and have 10,000 people reply. And then I want to have a funnel of decent candidates. So I'd be doing informational interview all the time. I'd have a big file cabinet, different job roles. Anybody I like, Palek, I thought she was really sharp. I put her name in there. 6 months later, a job opens. I asked my assistant, come on in. Hey, we're for this role. I remember that Palek person, they came in a little while ago. I thought Desai was really kind of sharp. Reach out to her, see if she's still available. One thing I will say, I don't expect informational interviews to be perfect, but I would pretty much bet you that if you compare the hit ratio of an informational interview that you've done a little bit of work on, right, to set up versus responding to actual job offers, jobs, open jobs online through Indeed or Monster, I would bet the hit ratio for informational interview will be much higher, like probably 25 to 50%. My point is, if you do research, 2 industries, 10 companies a pop, 20 companies, I'd be really surprised if at least 2 companies didn't respond to you. And I wouldn't be surprised if like 10 companies responded to you. And doesn't that feel a whole lot better than sending your resume and cover letter into a little black hole? Let me pause. Ram.
Yeah, so I have a question. As an international student, our situations are kind of different because we have visa sponsorship issues and other stuff. So when you're doing informational interviews, how exactly would I actually talk about the whole visa, or should I not talk about it at all, or should I just mention it?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, and I realize it's probably a question on a lot of people's lips right now. And I'll be the first one to say, I'm not going to go deep into H-1Bs. I don't pretend to be an expert, and it's a whole nother layer of complexity, which you guys are saying, yeah, professor, but we have to navigate this. I probably wouldn't bring that up in the first informational interview I did at a company, because your real purpose is to get information, right? And not just get information, but give them information about you. So this is just my point of view. I would not be, let's say I meet with the people at Pixar. I'm learning a lot of good stuff. Now I want to give them like 3 amazing things about John O'Mara, right? They're not going to remember more than that. I might leave behind a hard copy of my resume, or when I send a thank you email, attach my resume. But I am not going to bring up, oh, by the way, do you sponsor H-1Bs? And the person says, why? Do you need that to stay in country? Yes, I do. Oh, see you later, bye. And you may never hear from them again. What you're trying to do in an informational interview, 2 jobs, learn as much as you can, right? Second thing, come across, present yourself as a smart cookie. What they're going to remember is they took time to meet me. And after 30, 45 minutes, after we shake hands and I leave, they're either going to, it's real simple. They're either going to say, John seemed like a pretty good, smart person. You know, either myself or somebody should kind of keep track of him, or like, John was really out to lunch. I kind of hope he doesn't write me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just that simple. We've all done this before. Yeah. And the reason why I want to, in a moment, migrate on to some other strategies. But the reason why you want to meet people in person is, at the end of the day, no matter how smart you are, you know this, we hire people we like, okay? 2 people, really smart, I like this person not so much. I'm going with the person I like, okay? In some instances, will I hire Albert Einstein even though he's a jerk? Yeah, but unless you're Albert Einstein, don't be a jerk, okay? Those are rare instances. So I'm gonna kind of pause on, or I'm gonna finish right now on informational interviews. I think you get the concept. A couple of quick questions, then I want to move on because I want to hit a couple of topics. So how about Greg and Rajiv, and then I'm going to move on.
Hey, I'll keep mine quick. What's the time frame on these? I know we're heading into the holidays now, and I know a lot of people probably, these offices tend to empty out, the city empties for the last bit of the year, but should this be like a priority in the spring before graduation?
No. I'm glad you brought up timing. How about this, Greg? I'm going to push pause on you. I'm going to answer your question in a little more detail in a couple of minutes, okay?
Cool.
Rajiv.
Hey, professor, this is I don't have a question, but I've been doing this activity after a last conversation, and the formula, it really works. So I got connected to one of the dons and then strike up a conversation, and then we got connected on the Zoom because we couldn't meet in person.
Yep.
And we just explored each other in terms of, she understood what kind of person I am, where my interest lies, and she even gave a guidance in terms of how to go about all this career thing, exploring part. And then I explained what I'm looking out. And then it's strike up to her that she wanted to introduce me to another person in her organization who's in Southern California. And then she's in the field of product manager. She was a product manager. And then I got connected to her. And then we strike up a conversation. And finally the conversation ended it in terms of, let me go back to my manager and see what I can do for you in terms of internship or in terms of the consulting projects and things like that. So this formula really actually works.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like in your case, it's working real well, but I'll be honest with you guys. I've done this my whole career, and maybe the name changes. It's the same strategy. I did this once. I look back through, I'm a lot older than you, right? So whatever it's been, 6 career moves, out of all of them, all but one, I had met people in the company before I got, before I even pursued the job opportunity. It's just really, you understand, it's really hard for a job to come open. You don't know anybody in that company, and you're suddenly going to walk in, interview with at least a couple of dozen other highly qualified candidates, and you're going to get the job. I'm just saying that's a really tough way to go about, getting your job when you graduate from USF. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying it's tougher. So in the interest of time, Hirsch, did you have a quick question or can I roll?
I just have a quick question. Say, suppose we have like some job offers already. So how do we kind of pursue, say, like we cannot do, paid internships or unpaid, right? So we kind of like, what is the process of making the process start from August 2022? So what would you say? Yeah.
So, I mean, let me answer this short, speak now, and then I'll spend a little time on this. I told Greg I was going to address timing in a few minutes. I mean, in general, if you're conducting informational interviews, meet somebody like Rajiv did, you strike it up and they call back and they say, hey, Hirsch, we actually have a job open now, full time, right? We need someone right now coming in. Well, I mean, you have a choice to make. Do you drop out of your master's program and go pursue the job, or you finish your master's program, right? There's no magic here. So I'm going to let me be a little more calculated in my response, and I want to get into timing. But let me just touch a couple other strategies, okay? And then I promise Hirsch and Greg, I'll come back to timing because I have some important thoughts to give you. Okay. The overarching strategy is you've got to meet people. Second strategy, networking. I hate this word, mostly because I don't really like networking. I'm a professor, I'm a business person, and I just told you, I don't really like networking. How come? Because to me, it comes across as very mercenary. I've been on the receiving side, like I'm just a senior business executive in some place, and somebody comes up to me, and it almost, like they're trying to become my best friend, get to know me, and try and get a job offer all within 30 seconds. Do you understand? From the receiver side, it doesn't feel so great. I've also tried it on the other side. I'm the person hunting. And to me, it feels, this is just me, right? We're all built differently. For me, it feels, like I said, very mercenary, right? It feels like very transparent. So for me, I kind of had to go through a little bit of a mind shift. And I don't like coming up to people, pumping them for information, seeing what I can get all within 30 seconds, which, by the way, every single, online article, get your elevator pitch down, how to meet people and make, decisions quickly and all that BS. If it works for you, do it. In my experience, I don't like to receive it and I don't really like to do it, but I do like to meet people. I'm not shy. I think you can get that from me. I like to meet people. I love to learn. I mean, I just like to, so like if you and I, if we were chatting downtown, we each had a beer in my hand, I'd be pumping you with all kinds of questions. I want to know about you, right? That's fun. So in my mind, I kind of did this thing years ago where I clicked, I kind of twisted it to, I may not really like networking, but I love to learn. I love to meet people and learn. So here's a question for you. Question for everybody that's still listening to me. You all are professional marketers. I know in 7 months, you're all going to say, I want a full-time job doing X, Y, and Z in this market. So raise your hand physically or digitally if right now you are an active member of a professional association. Go ahead, raise your hand. Tutri, if you did, you probably joined since we talked last. So it's good to see. I see a few hands raised. And by the way, I've also spoken with some of those people, but I also see a lot of hands that are not raised. So what am I talking about? Let me pick on somebody just because I like to pick on people. Who haven't we spoken with? How about Ane Ho? Ane,
Hi.
share with me 1 or 2 professional industries that interest you.
Professional industries, I would say the fashion retail industry. And another one would be the entertainment industry.
Okay, cool. So these are, now again, I'm not asking what industry's industry, I'm asking what professional associations. So you're talking about professional associations in
Okay.
those industries, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm like you, I'm a marketer. So you know I belong professional, I belong to several. I belong to the AMA. By the way, even though it's real broad, it's a standard one you guys should consider joining. Each one of you, while you're in school, excuse me, you should research and select at least 2 professional industries. They can either be marketing industries, those cut horizontally. So the AMA, IA, Insights Association, it used to be called MRA, but now it's called IA. It's the association for all of you guys. If you're staying in San Francisco market, you want to connect with people in the marketing field, SF Big. As a matter of fact, one of your professors, John Durham, is not only the president of Catalyst, an agency, he's also the president of SF Big. That's our marketing association in San Francisco. IAG is another association I'm part of. That's for graphic artists because it's one of the disciplines I work in. So here's the point. While you're students and while we're still coming out of COVID, normally it costs like $300+ a year per membership. But because you're students, you can become a member for a lot less, usually like 10 or 20 bucks. But because it's COVID, right now, a lot of associations are meeting online until they can get back to meeting in person. So that means you can research either marketing associations or industry associations. Like Ane mentioned, if I'm interested in entertainment association, where's the closest entertainment association? I used to work in LA for a long time. Huge, massive entertainment association down in Southern California. And what you want to do is you want to start going to their meetings. How come? Because every single person there is somebody that you either want to meet, get to know, or get a job from. So industry associations, my guess is most of you do not belong to even one. You should all belong to at least 2. Research them online, go to a couple events online. It doesn't cost you a penny. If you think it's a group that you'd like to hang around, join. As a student, it may not even cost you anything. Not that you should necessarily want to join SF Big, but I'm pretty certain John and his group, I think they're taking memberships from students. I don't even know if they charge right now. Pretty soon they'll all be back in person, right? Then they're going to be charging. So
It's
I'm just
$10 for
Excuse
students.
me?
It's $10 for students.
Okay, $10.
Joining right now.
What a deal. I pay $300 a year, $350 to be part of the AMA. You know, to do 3 of those, it's over $1,000. I'm guessing a lot of you may not have $1,000 hanging around. Do you have $10? Yes, that's 1 beer in the city of San Francisco. In another country, you get like a whole keg, but in San Francisco, you know, that's 1 beer and you have to scrounge for a tip. Okay, industry associations is really important. Also key events. Somebody mentioned that we're really keen on like consumer packaged goods. Of course, there's a CPG industry, but more importantly, in San Francisco, we have something called the Fancy Food Show. It's held every year in San Francisco. This year, unfortunately, they're moving it to Vegas for COVID reasons. It's a killer show. And it's where you see all the latest food innovation, big companies, and a ton of startups. So it's a really good range. Is what I'm trying to point out is within each association, they have key signature events. Within CPG, there's something called the Fancy Food Show. It's like you got to go. If you're in entertainment or electronics, you got to go to E3. Hopefully some of you have heard of E3. It is the show. I used to go to it every year of my career. It's held in Las Vegas.
Huh, I didn't know you went to E3.
So dig into 1 or 2 associations. This is another, remember, because Palek was saying, well, what happens if I don't know anybody? This is another place to meet people, right? To ask questions, to learn, not to get a job. Of course you want a job, but it's a 2-step process. You got to meet people, you have to learn, and then you have to let them learn about you. And if that goes well, then maybe you can start talking about a job. Hirsch.
Yeah, I think you're mentioning about the so clubs, and also there are like startup grind and build in SF also. There are many like you can join, and there are many events which are happening in SF.
Absolutely, Harsh. Now, Hirsch, I'm glad you raised your hand though, because I want to return to your question and Greg's, and I want to talk to you guys as a cohort in the MSMI. So here's the way your program was built this year, which is a little bit different than the first year. And we're probably going to tweak it again for the third year, right? Each year, hopefully we get it a little, I don't want to say better, a little more fine-tuned. Your program runs from August to early July. So you're here for 7 contiguous modules. Module 1 was your first module with us. It was also 4 classes. I would hazard a guess, probably felt pretty busy. Is that correct? Okay, now I'm here to tell you, because I helped design this thing. Module 2, you've got 3 courses. You've already started the classes. They're all good classes, but I think you can tell already, like, you're not going to be overwhelmed with work. A sidebar. I want to point out a couple of things. This has to do with later on with your program. So I'm taking a little bit of a detour here. There are 3 courses that you should pay real close attention to. Suck up everything you can, because when it comes to your practicum, you're going to be using them over and over again. Statistics. I hope you paid attention. I hope you did a good job for Shelley. Qualitative marketing research. You're taking it right now with Steve Krause. Survey design with Professor Villarreal. Those 3 courses, you're gonna use your entire body of knowledge, but I'm just letting you know you're gonna use those 3 courses in depth for your practicum. Anyway, let's get back to it. So in fall 2, you have work, but now you know that, like, our tempo at USF, you kind of know what the courses are like. You're not gonna flunk out. You may not be the smartest person in class, but hopefully you're gonna do okay. Hopefully you're all brilliant. What I'm trying to say is fall 2 should not be too tough for you. By the way, spring 1 should also not be too hard for you. So let's talk timing. You've got this window of opportunity right now. It's halfway through fall 2. You kind of feel confident as a student. You're not overworked. So the rest of fall 2, and then you have intercession. I don't know if you figured it out yet. You've got 6 weeks off between fall 2 and spring 1. So you've basically got half of fall 2 plus 6 weeks, let alone even the start of spring 1. I won't even talk about that yet. You basically have about 3 months before you go back to school for spring 1. And this is Greg asked and Hirsch asked me about timing. This is when you need to be putting in those strategies like informational interviews, joining associations, and getting out there. Remember, it's a 2-step process. You're not looking for jobs. I doubt anybody's going to offer you a full-time job on the spot. And quite frankly, you don't even want to accept a job because you're not done with your program, but you do want to get the process going. So this is the time you should be making hay, right? About midway through fall, all the way through December, and all the way through January. You don't come back to school almost till the end of January. You can make a lot of progress on the strategies that we're talking about. So that's what I would recommend from a timing standpoint. By the way, let's keep on talking about timing for a moment. Let's say you do this. So now in spring, you start getting actual informational interviews. You start meeting people. You start going to a couple, maybe one really good professional association downtown, and you go to a couple of meetings. Well, what you want to do is probably start, if you can, start getting involved in interviews for full-time jobs in spring. Let me tell you the worst thing that's going to happen to you, and it's not that bad. Sometime in spring, the company that you've been searching and working for, Adobe, they call up and say, hey, we've got a full-time job offer. Hirsch, we thought you were killer when you were out here a couple of months ago. We think you'd be perfect for the job, but it's a full-time job offer. You're in grad school. Do you want to be considered for this? Absolutely, I do. But you don't lie, cheat, and steal, but you do. So you say yes. Now, anybody that's been involved in any significant new job interview process, how long does it take from the time that they say, come on over and talk to us till you actually get a piece of paper in hand? About how long does that take for any significant job?
3 months.
Easily.
At least.
Easily. You're gonna, and now with the masters, and you're gonna be considered for a high level job, it probably is gonna be about a 3-month process. It could be 2 months. I doubt it's gonna be much shorter. Unfortunately, I'm here to tell you, sometimes it stretches out and it can be longer. But let's say it's 2 to 3 months. So if you actually start this strategy now, that means maybe they or you start getting calls in for real interviews in spring. And if I were you, I'd go for them. The worst thing that happens is you get a job offer in May or June, and you say, I don't graduate till July. Is there any way, please, is there any way I can start part-time for a month, and then mid-July I can be yours full-time? Well, if they put all that effort into you and you put all that effort into meeting them, I bet you there's like more than 50% chance that they will accommodate you. By the way, they maybe say, no, sorry, like this job starting May 31st, that's it. Well, then guess what? You missed that job. Oh, well, but how about the
419? Just wanted that,
Yep.
Sorry.
Thank you, Trudy. But so what? So that means, Adobe liked you enough that they wanted to give you a job and you couldn't accept it because you're going to finish off your master's. Good for you. They're not going to forget you, but chances are with the way it goes in terms of interviewing and the process and what I've said, even if you get a job offer in spring, I think you can probably, this is where the politician in you steps forward. I think you can figure out a way to kind of stretch it out and say, hey, let's work this out. I can join you in July. Let's make this work, because I'm just not going to let Adobe like go by without me accepting that job or whatever. Let me pause a second. Let's focus questions on timing. I want to hit at least one more topic and then we'll start to wrap up. Anybody have questions about timing and et cetera that I'm recommending to you?
I just have a quick question about the timing. I'm looking at when the course officially ends. I'm seeing July 1st is when the summer one ends. And I was just seeing if that lines up. If that's when it is, so we can start timing that. Hey, when do we start reaching out to recruiters?
Yes. And by the way, the first cohort that went through, we added on another module. We stretched. So they had fewer courses. They didn't have 4 up front. You say, Professor, I wish I had that. Yeah, but then we went all the way through August again. So you know what I'm saying? There's like, it's got to be one way or the other. And our department, this is not our department, debates it internally. So yes, you guys wrap up the first week of July. I'm telling you, you need to get going now. Okay, we got that. So that's the timing strategy. A couple of other, I think I have about 10 minutes. Are we good for 10 more minutes?
Good, good to go.
Then let's
Professor, before we move ahead, I have one question regarding timing. For international students, one of the problems which I see is that before we graduate, that is like the graduate date which we have, that is the 12th of August, we are not allowed to do even part-time or full-time job. So we have to move it to second week of August. So how do you think that, how should we have a conversation with the companies? Should we tell them our situation that we have to apply for OPT? Once the OPT extension gets approved, then we can start working?
Absolutely. But by the way, when the question was put to me before about informational interviews, the first time I'm meeting a company, I'm not dropping H-1B on them. Okay, that's just not appropriate. Okay. Yes. As soon as you're starting your full-time job search, if you're an international student, you want to be real straightforward about that. And we're not going to cover it in today. I'll chat with Greg and Drudy. I know they have some plans. Maybe I have some information I can contribute. But when you are researching your companies, right? That was step number 1. If you're an international student, you've got to dig in to companies that you can determine are open to or known for being strong international hirers. Supporter of H-1B. It's not by chance that I mentioned Adobe. I used to manage all the global advertising for Adobe for a number of years in a prior career. The university has very strong connections with Adobe. Adobe, unless they've changed, are very strong hiring company for international students. They're very strong sponsors of H-1Bs. I don't want to pretend like I'm expert on that. I'm just saying I know that from my past experience. That's part of what you're researching, right? So when it comes time, now we're in spring. and now you're starting to research and get yourself set up for real full-time job interviews, yeah, you need to be real straightforward about your status and what you need to stay in the country, and then what you hope happens 12 months down the road, right? And if I were you, I'd be researching the kind of companies in advance that I know at least have a predilection towards that. No guarantee, no guarantee. A couple other points, and then we'll start to wrap up, and then we'll talk about if there are any next steps. Okay, I mentioned about meeting people. For international students especially, but also for American students, while you're here as a student, you can do consulting projects though, especially consulting projects associated with the university. So to my way of thinking, I kind of can't imagine any of our MSMI students, especially international students, not taking advantage of a consulting project with the Malloy Group or now with our GMA. And I think it's hot stuff that our GMA, which is basically run by you guys, it's also open to other grad students. I think it's hot stuff that, our associate already offering 2 consulting projects as we speak. And if you don't sign up for one of those, that's okay. But also know that Malloy Group is going to be taking, requests for signups for consulting projects for spring again. So if you haven't done so, I would think that would be really important. Another way to meet people in person, not just employers, but also other graduates. It's really important that you guys get out and about, like start to make friends with some of our MBAs, MFAs, MSODs, right? You're all more or less in the same boat, right? You're early to mid-career professionals. When you connect with those folks, start engaging them in career discussions. So consulting project, taking advantage of GMA, and then the last minor point, and then I'm going to start wrapping up, is also, even though it can seem a little boring at times, all of you guys, I really want to push you guys to pay attention to and try and attend the activities offered by our GSA. I know, sometimes you just had class or you're tired or you have something other to do. But again, so many times, I think that they set up really good events. Like for instance, I think, was it just a couple of days ago, we met some folks from IDEO. I can remember last cohort, there was an MSMI student that was hitting me up for my connections at IDEO. Fortunately, I had one and I gave it to him. But I was thinking, bear with me for a second, connect the dots. When the school's offering up for you to meet IDEO, well then meet IDEO. And if it's inconvenient for you, tough, like suck it up. You came here to learn, right? Obviously marketing intelligence, but you also came here for the wealth of information and connections, and you're spending a lot of money for it. You have got to leverage the heck out of USF, right? I'm a big believer in that. So another thought, besides soaking up or attending GSA activities, same thing with your professors. And I know a lot of you are doing this already, but every module, you have 3 professors or 3 or 4 professors, make time before or after class, or take them out to coffee or set up a Zoom. I'll tell you right now, there are at least 5 of you that have, this semester I'm on main campus, I'm not downtown. 5 of your cohort have actually taken time to come up to main campus to meet me up here. Good on them, right? I know it's not convenient, like I'm not downtown. Well, come on, you're an adult. Get on a bus and get up here. Next semester, I'll be down there, right? You know what I'm saying? So really push yourself. Try not to fall into that, what I call those college habits. You know what I mean? Kind of like, I just finished class. I kind of want to go home, hook up with friends, grab a beer and watch TV. Well, you know what? Go meet with Professor Villarreal for 30 minutes, right? Find out something new. I think I have, 3 minutes.
I just have a quick wrap-up question, Professor.
Okay, hit me up with 1 or 2 questions, and then I have a wrap-up for you guys. Okay, so I'll take 2 questions. Ram.
So official graduation ceremony, will that be in May?
Yes.
Would that be right?
Yes. So just so you know, you will walk get your diploma with the entire university in May, you'll go as the Graduate School of Management, and you'll also graduate. It's pretty cool. I'm trying to graduate. In May, in May, it's so big. I think we separate them, right? December, they're together. May, and anyway, it's a big event. You want to be there. You will walk in May. You won't actually get your diploma though until July. So you have to still pass all your classes. Was there one question and then I have to wrap up?
I'll let someone go if they have a question. I was just going to plug the GMA events into this right now and let them know that we do have a lot of the upcoming stuff coming.
Okay, give us the 30-second. I need 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds. Greg, go.
Oh, okay. We got global marketing managers and big digital marketing managers coming in for the next few weeks, every week. We have the global marketing manager from DD, PlayStation, someone from the product team of Coursera coming in all in November, and we got more stuff lined up for February or for the spring. So come on in and network with these people and meet these people. It's kind of exactly what Professor O'Meara was speaking about. And then we'll be launching another round of consulting projects if you did miss them in spring. So come talk to us so we can do some of this,
I just want to give big props to anybody associated with the GMA, but specifically our officers. I saw the recent flyer. By the way, these folks, and you can hop on board and join them and help run the event that you want to run, right? If they're not doing what you want to do, say, hey, Greg, I'd like to help out an event. I want to meet the people at Pixar. Cool. Yeah. Then go set up an event at Pixar, obviously work with the association. But I think your group is already doing a really terrific job. So Greg, Trudy, and the rest of Kieran, the rest of the officers, hats off to you guys. Let's summarize. I promised we'd wrap up on time. So first, one quick question overall. Was today's conversation, I know at some level it was kind of basic, but was it at all helpful to you folks?
Yeah, definitely, really helpful. Yes,
definitely,
yeah,
Professor.
Yeah, really helpful.
So here's what I'd like to do. Two things. First, I'm not going to hang up without giving you some homework. So if you guys are serious about advancing your careers, I told you, you now have a 3-month window. That's a huge amount of time, right? You have a 3-month window. Everybody, you now have an informational interview homework assignment. I want each one of you identify two industries, 10 companies each in the geography that you're interested in. And between now and the time we come back to school, I want you to start reaching out to companies and setting up informational interviews for yourself. If you get hopping, you can probably get a couple in before the holidays. As Greg mentioned earlier, right around December 15th to about January 7th, the world closes down. But then guess what? About January 7th, it opens back up again with a surge. So you don't want to just be starting then. So get going on that. I challenge all of you to get at least, this isn't a big deal, within the next 3 months, get 2 informational interviews. That's not a big deal. You can do it. And here's my experience, because I do this, right? And I do it even nowadays. And the reason I do it is I like to check out companies on your behalf. I was chatting with Twitter, and I still can't remember the name of another startup company downtown. Anyway, if you do this, I find it really energizing, because I reached out to somebody and they actually spoke to me and they said, yeah, come on down. And we got to trade conversation. And like a couple of your classmates mentioned, usually you have pretty good success. And if nothing else, you met somebody, they met you, and never let any conversation die, right? Always have them refer you to someone else and to someone else. So let's wrap up on that note. And then the last thing I'll say is, I'll circle back with Greg and Trudy and the rest of the GMA team. And if there's appropriate follow-up that we'd like to do, maybe it's more internationally H-1B focused, maybe it's about talking about specific careers and specific industries. Like if we kind of take a quorum, if we can agree on 3 industries, maybe we can do a follow-up deep dive conversation. So let me, whatever your thoughts are, funnel them to Greg and Trudy and the rest of the GMA team. Greg, I'll reach out to you guys and we'll see about not tomorrow, but we'll see about maybe scheduling a part 2 if people are interested, okay? Only if you're interested. Cool, so that's it. It's 4:30. You guys were all terrific. Everybody stayed till the bitter end. I appreciate that. It's very professional. So very cool to chat with you guys. I always like seeing your face, and sorry I'm not down there in person right now, but I enjoy interacting with you guys. You're always welcome to see me on main campus. And you guys have a good day, okay?
Thanks, Professor.
Thank
Take
you.
it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Professor.
much, Professor.
Thank you,
Thank you
Professor.
so much, Professor.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Be
coming,
good.
guys.
Thanks, Craig.